Beneath the obsidian apex, the floor vibrated with a heat that had nothing to do with fire. Against the survivor's throat, the hand of matriarch Xylo was as cold as a dead moon. This was the price of his credentials. "You will be my consort," she hissed, her iridescent chitin clicking like a dying engine. "Or you will watch the fire from orbit consume your home." What happened next? I wish I could say it ended there. "Stay close. It will be a routine run," Director Sterling had promised. That was 4 hours and 1 shuttle wreck ago. Across the wreckage drifted the smell of scorched circuitry. He stood amidst the jagged remnants of the transport, his thumb tracing the seam of his cuff while smoke filled the canyon. He was the only one who had survived the descent onto Corifor. From the static of his handheld comms, the director's voice came through thin and distorted. Because of the 17-minute window for a signal to traverse the system, help was effectively a ghost. The survivor stared at the obsidian peaks, knowing every breath was an unauthorized choice. Sterling's order was clear: wait for extraction. He began to walk. Silence. Only the crunch of glass under his boots broke the stillness. As he entered the hall of the obsidian apex, my primary duty was to catalog his belongings. I watched him closely. That sound, the clicking of 1,000 spears, the human ignored. He was preoccupied with the alignment of his fabric sleeves. He whispered to his comms, "I am entering the apex. Tell Sterling the price is high, but I'm paying." To me, he looked fragile. The matriarch did not offer a greeting. Instead, she tilted her head exactly 45 degrees to the right. This was our way of acknowledging an unpleasant truth. "The Chitauri do not wed ghosts," she stated, her voice a series of rhythmic clicks. "You are a survivor of a wreck, not a bridge between worlds. Prove your worth or die." Behind her, the nobles shifted, their armor creating a sound like a landslide. During the initial military strategy exam, a piece of logic from our commanders nearly trapped him. Suddenly, the human laughed. The sound was sharp, a vocalization of defiance that made the guards tighten their grip on their pikes. I assumed he was mocking his own execution. He simply leaned back, unfazed by the toxins we had subtly introduced into the ventilation. "Perhaps a refreshment will calm your nerves," suggested Baron Zek. "It is a potent blend. We call it the warrior's breath." A servant brought a vessel of steaming, caustic fluid. When the human took the cup, the liquid slopped over, scalding his fingers instantly. He did not drop the vessel. Even as the skin of his hands turned an angry red, his expression remained flat. In the library, Baron Zek filed the formal legal dispute, claiming the human lacked the structural integrity to serve as a consort. It was a calculated move to bury the survivor under 10,000 years of precedent. Argue he did not. Instead, he began pulling heavy scrolls from the shelves, his burnt hands leaving faint, damp marks, red and peeling, on the ancient parchment. Beneath the weight of those texts, the stakes shifted from personal safety to something existential. If he failed the legal challenge, the Chitauri fleet would launch within the hour. "I don't need to understand every word," he muttered to me. "I just need to find the one that breaks the beam." Balanced on the ability of a man with ruined skin was the fate of an 11-year blood feud. Outside, the sky darkened with warships. Within the vaulted silence of the library, Kale watched the human's thumbs drift again to the seams of his cuffs. It was a rhythmic, obsessive motion that suggested a mind unspooling under the weight of the Chitauri legal code. The red marks on his fingers had begun to blister, the scalded flesh weeping against the cold ink of the scrolls. When I brought him a nutrient paste that smelled of sulfur, he pushed it aside with a tired smile. "It is fine, Kale. I have had street cart tacos in Geneva that were more lethal than your toxins." Such a casual dismissal of a chemical assassination attempt chilled me. These humans possessed a physiological arrogance that defied our biological understanding. Elias stood and meticulously smoothed a tiny wrinkle in the heavy silk tablecloth. Matriarch Xylo entered the chamber, her armor shimmering with a dark, oily light. The jagged data chip, Xylo held with a trembling claw. "Betrayal," she clicked, the sound echoing off the obsidian walls. She explained that the Vulturine cartel had not just profited from our blood feud. They had engineered it through the encryption ciphers Elias had been tracking in his very clothing. The 11-year war was nothing more than a ledger of corporate growth. A sickening crack. Then, the mountain itself began to scream. From the sky fell a kinetic strike, a rod of tungsten launched by the cartel to bury their secrets along with us. Structural failure rippled through the apex. Within the crumbling library, dust swirled like ghosts. As the massive bulkhead doors began to grind shut, trapping us in the heart of the collapse, Elias did not flee. Elias wedged a jagged obsidian shard into the teeth of the grinding bulkhead. His effort bought us the 17-minute window we needed to transmit the truth to both fleets. During the chaos, a folded piece of paper slipped from his inner pocket, a drawing of a blue sun by a 7-year-old named Amara. That small detail, a child's hope, made the destruction of the cartel's blockade a necessity rather than a choice. I saw the human's face then. He was not laughing anymore. That laughter I had heard earlier, I realized it was never a ritual of defiance. It was the sound of a man who knew the universe was a joke, but refused to let it have the last word. By coordinating the joint counterattack between our cruisers and the Sol Alliance, he proved that a single consort was a bridge made of iron and scorched skin. We stood together in the wreckage of the cartel station weeks later. The air was cold, smelling of ozone and the vacuum of space. Elias did not look at the metals or the diplomats. He simply looked at the void. That red, peeling skin, only a human would refuse to hide. The scalded hand rested on the jagged black armrest of the Chitinari throne. The obsidian remained cold against his healing palm. Above us, the stars continued their silent orbit. A single drop of blood stained the white fabric of his sleeve. The long war ended in the dark.